some games I want to touch on here for our Week 3 preview. There's some undefeated teams not ranked. Syracuse is one of them. They've got Clemson. Louisville is one of them. They've got NC State. There's a couple of teams out there that are unbeaten. Maryland is another one. They've got Indiana before Ohio State. When we get through the month of September going into October, how do you think some of those teams that have started off the season well aren't getting the ranking to the national attention?
Well, I think it's interesting. The teams you mentioned, I think Syracuse comes back to earth. And I know the Clemson issue, everyone talking about where's Clemson at? It's just over.
Their season's on the line.
Listen, they still have talent. Yeah. They have players. They have a good defensive front. They still have talent. I think the Syracuse run ends this weekend. Mm-hmm. I think Maryland will get through this week with another win over Indiana, and then it's going to start to come crashing down.
They've got Ohio State.
When Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan come rolling on.
Yeah.
The team that's interesting, that's played above, that's undefeated, played above where I've thought they would be at this point is Louisville.
Yep.
Of the teams you brought up. You tune in, new coaching staff coming in, a little bit of a changeover, different things happening. Jeff Brom wins.
That's right.
He wins and does a great job. And I watch them, and they come out and they've dominated games so far this year. I think they're a team that's going to continue to win, and they're going to make some noise as the year goes on.
Let me put it this way: contender or pretender in the ACC for them?
How it's going. You got to say contender.
Yeah.
You have to say contender.
Jack Plummer's playing good at quarterback.
Florida State's looked like they have some weak spots here and there.
BC and Clemson successive weeks.
Miami's looked pretty sharp. Duke has got some great players, but you're like North Carolina, and I think Louisville can compete with all of those teams.
Let's talk about Duke for a second, because for the first time in school history, football college game days coming to Durham. Basketball goes there all the time because they'll tell you it's a basketball school, and historically it's been. But Mike Elko has Duke off to an undefeated start, 4-0. Here's the trick for Duke this week. Notre Dame comes off that last-second loss to Ohio State. They've got the one loss. You're not in a conference. You're an independent. You can't lose again and still be in the college football playoff discussion. So Duke gets Sam Hartman and a Notre Dame team knowing that the season is on the line Saturday for them if they want to stay in the college football playoff conversation.
Yeah, the pressure is Notre Dame. If you look, but now they're backed in a corner. They're going to come out fighting, but the pressure's on Notre Dame. If they lose this, they're out of the discussion. They're out of the playoffs. They're not in a conference, right? So they're playing for a bowl bid at that point. Duke, this game is a fun game. No pressure. It doesn't have any effect on them in the ACC and their run and their opportunity to go win an ACC title. So I think some of the pressure's off of Duke. Listen, Notre Dame's an excellent football team. Yep. They're balanced. They have it front to back. I was surprised last week how conservative they played that game.
They really did.
And they didn't let Sam Hartman throw the ball down the field. However, I think coming into this game, Notre Dame's going to be physical up front. They're going to have the size. But the one thing this Duke team does, listen, Mike Elko teams play great defense.
That's right.
When he was a coordinator, now as a head coach. They're going to play defense. They're going to cause problems for that Notre Dame offense. And the thing that surprises you the most with Duke, Riley Leonard, we know that name, but he has players around him. They have a lot of skill on that team, and I think that could be a shock for Notre Dame coming in. And I hope, I hope they're out doing the, let's go Duke cheers and all, and they maybe put all the crazies around the field so that their students and the crowd and the atmosphere makes it a big-time football school.
If Duke gets this win to move to 5-0 and they get Notre Dame, you could be looking at one of those special seasons in line, because the ACC right now, Florida State looks good, Miami's undefeated, they look good.
North
Carolina's undefeated, they look good. So the ACC, at least for its part, without the powerhouse Clemson being in there, is going to be a fun one as we turn the calendar to September, or October rather, in a couple of weeks. One other game I want to get into, because I'm talking about with Notre Dame seasons on the line in terms of big picture conversation. That's also the case for Ole Miss, coming off the Alabama loss. They have a bounce back opportunity against LSU. Remember, LSU's only lost out of conference to Florida State. So if Lane Kiffin and the Rebels want to get back in it, you can't fall this week. This is a must-win for them.
Well, it is, because you go two losses. Your two losses are Alabama, LSU, so you're 3 behind them.
You're out of the West.
You're out. There's no more chance to compete for that West title. Listen, I think Lane obviously does a great job. He gets players, puts them in position. They score points. They've played. They play good defense. They're a good football team. But I'll tell you what, LSU after that first game, it's hard to say Florida State's good, but almost embarrassed in that first game.
Exactly.
It was one of those that was a wake-up call to a lot of guys on that team. And I think that wake-up call, like, they have it kind of got them angry.
Well, Brian Kelly said afterwards, we thought we're Georgia and we're not.
Yeah, but they've played that way.
Yep.
They've played great defense.
Yep.
Jaden Daniels runs around, makes plays. Malik Neighbors, they have guys that can score from anywhere on the field. They run the ball. They look like the contender.
Give me something.